This this is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your live market chat, Friday, December 23rd, 2022. Got stuck here at home. Flight canceled for the holidays. Going to reschedule for a couple days later. Figured I would talk about some of the trades that I'm taking today. Didn't really anticipate doing too much, but jumping into it now. So let's talk about the markets. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So at this point, nothing's changed. People keep, asking, why do you think the Santa Claus rally is coming? Why? Let's compare. Is now like 2008? No, it's not a housing crash. This is more of a inflation, CPI over 6% every time leads to a recession kind of reaction. Longer, drawn out. It's going to be choppy, sloppy. It's not going to be just this dump or do move until I think potentially, well, again, I've said it over and over, I thought it would happen certain times a year. The evidence changed and you have to push it back. And I've now, if you go back and think about what this, if you're following seasonality, well, it's not going to be to end December. It's not going to be early January. So you got to just be patient. Got to be patient. And I know a lot of people say, well, why do you change your opinion? It's like, well, the evidence changes. That's what it is. I mean, I've said for weeks, I thought we could get into this choppy, sloppy pattern that resolved higher before you go lower. And we got that. But now is it going back to the range highs? Is today's data good enough to be bullish? There's a lot of questions a lot of people have. But either way, if you're short, I think the easy money has been taken out of the market. So you got to be looking to cover and hedge whatever your strategy is for, your shorts. Because I think you're going to see the rally as it always plays out. I mean, people say, like, how do you know? I mean, 20 years of doing this, I have tried to short over these weeks before because of certain things, say, like budget issues from the past or seem very clear. I mean, you've had crazy drops that either rallied, like literally Christmas Day bottomed, or post-OPEX pullbacks, and then you just floated higher. And it's every time because it's new money. It's seasonally. It's like a mechanism of the market. Now, does that mean straight line moves going to 430 or something on the SPY? No, not necessarily. It's just if you're short and the indicators are pointing to you that you think it's going lower, well, then I'm going to show you why I don't think that's the case at all. At all. If anything, it's actually pointing to up. One of the first things that I like to talk about is the VIX, because I think it's become very obvious that the VIX, people are talking about complacency. Well, the market's pretty comfortable with things, clearly. It's just if you look at Tesla and you think Tesla's the market, then you think the VIX should be rising versus there's a lot of other names that have just been pulling back gently and chopping and hanging out. That's why I think the VIX has been stuck here. Watching the structure, if you want to dig deeper into it, go right ahead. I'm trying to keep it a simple 50,000 foot flyby, or maybe 20,000. Let's get a little more zoomed in, but just keep it simple because at this point, when you look at the markets, there's a reason why all this stuff is happening, right? Keep that in mind. Like government spending just blew up. They're going to spend $1.7 trillion. Banks seem to be holding up. We've talked about that. FedEx has been on fire. And you're seeing industrials, certain materials, certain tech, certain things look better. But what's the headline draw? Tesla, right? Tesla crashing. All right, well, Elon says he's not going to sell any stock for 2 years now. Does that matter? Whether what he does not, no, I don't really care. I mean, I still think at some point, I've said this, keep it go on a record. Went back even when it's, after the split, when the 400 said, I think this is a double-digit stock at some point. Well, close enough for now. I still don't think the bear market's done, so neither is the stock, but it doesn't mean it's going to go down a straight line all the time. When it goes from 200 down to 120, it's a big move. But the irony is the market not reacting to it as much as you might think. Well, somebody knows something for holding up because this is the thing that I look at the market. You watch certain materials names yesterday and certain things acting suspicious. And we talked about that, and it's like, clearly there's money flow in here. Clearly, the market is playing a game with people's emotions. The people who are extremely bearish, and I'm so thankful I have trolls and haters out there. Because I honestly am still trying to educate them, even though how much they hate me. Trying to explain to them, like, listen, like, do you not see the action? Okay, yes, you have a good trade. But if you're digging in for this epic monster crash, come check us out here in a little bit. I mean, those same people were the same people near the highs in the summer or near the lows expecting more every single time. And that's the only time they pop up is say anything. They don't go, hey, Dan, you should short the market here at 410 on the SPY. No, they come in at 377 and go, look, the market's crashing. Ha, ha, ha. Bears win. It's like, okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. So that's my thinking here. I mean, if you go back and you study this stuff, and hopefully you are, again, student of the game. If you were trading and you were just gambling, throwing money around, like you don't think about like what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your time frames are, do you give yourself patience, like the ability to like, all right, does that have to be right today, right now, right this minute? And you got problems. I'm going to start off real quick. Someone had a question on the Discord room. They asked me, what do you think of Netflix, Dan? What do I think of Netflix? Again, if you have any questions, this is going to be free open. Like, I was supposed to have a flight that got canceled. I'm hanging out now. I got nothing on my schedule. That's why I was like, I'm just going to hang out and chat and see if people are taking any of these trades, anyone's around, see if I can offer any guidance. What do I think of Netflix? Again, think about the market. Here it is, 1220. SPY made new lows yesterday. Where's Netflix holding up high? That doesn't look bad to me. Making a higher low here after a doji. If you want to take the trade, I mean, you got to use yesterday's low probably as your stop. I mean, you can see, and if it's if they're listening, even better. I'd be watching like this area right here. But you might not get that if the market's going to pump here. Santa Claus coming to town kind of thing. A lot of people just don't. You can't replace experience. That's why I was like always trying to explain to people, like, if you follow, you do the work, your tuition, your learning, your skill is going to be exponentially better than the person who's just trying to wing it, looking at the screens, trying to, what I consider like Ouija board, move it around and think that they got the answer from, oh, this stock's doing that. Okay, this is that. No, and we've all been there. Like, you get like superstitious when you're not sure, right? It's pretty funny how that works out. So if you have any questions, please jump into it. I'm talking about like SPY lottos. That was an easy trade. Took those off real quick. Bought some SPY longer dated like calls for next week on that dip back to flatline. Still got, unfortunately, got some roadblocks. AA looks good. We traded that one if you're doing good. CF is looking a whole hell of a lot better, even though it's still barely over 90. We'll talk about that. If you notice, I'm like turning my head. I got a lot of screens here. What else? SPX, SPXL, roadblocks, AA, trading around, SPY. I mean, this is the thing about the market, right? And if you're not familiar with like bear markets, right? It's trader's market, right? 20-year bond at 4%, expecting it down next week at least 20 basis point rate, meaning a TLT rally next week. Let's pull up the TLT. I mean, I'm not surprised it dropped down today, but again, as soon as the market opens, bonds are getting stopping power. I mean, you're back testing. What old trend line was that? Let's go back into the time machine. Okay, so that was kind of a make or break point. Broke out. Yeah, I mean, this trend line is important here. Basis points. Again, the bond market's tricky right now because you have very similar circumstances for like the stock market, and this in 50 dimes. I mean, I'm with you on this. I think this rallies. So if the market is looking more comfortable, I think bond action will come in because, I mean, I don't know if, what did I see? What was it? Biden wasn't, again, I'm trying to look at the highlights. Biden saying inflation coming down, right? Like, people are going to push that headline pretty strong. Now, we all know, like, sometimes extreme inflation coming down could be a sign of weak market weakness. But we'll see. I mean, I agree. You're probably at least going to get an eighth back in the bond market next week. If not, the market doesn't seem to really care. That's where it gets a little difficult. We got 5 January 20 at the money calls. If you bought them this morning, I mean, that I dig that because here, like, because this is the thing, right? Like, you see this 3-day range. Could this be like a gap trap reversal? Like, here you go, gap trap. Like, the market's real good at pulling that, because that's where I think the market, people don't realize, is like these gaps and these like formations are meant to get people out of position and doing the wrong thing. Because this is like, if you pull up the SPY, even though it doesn't necessarily have like a gap, I guess technically, yeah, it doesn't really have a gap, but look at this action. Like, this is where I'm telling, like, bears, you got to be on red effing alert. Because if you take out the lows, rally back, then that's a bear trap, and it should resolve higher. Now, how high? We've talked about it. Like, it could be a whole host of levels. But if you're buying down here, that's the easy trade, is to ride that up for 5, 10, 15. I mean, God forbid if we retest the highs. Holy crap. That would be awesome. Awesome short. Going into Santa Claus. Now, what happened last year? Again, we talk about this. You know, it's over and over and over. You had like this similar situation where the market was choppy. You retested a low, and then you rally back for 5 days, then chopped out. Well, here you go. Here's your retests. Now, again, does it look perfect? No. Again, it's all a different flavor of the same game. Could we rally straight back? That has to be on your mind. If you're bearish, you got to know that. You got to understand, like, you could be caught here in a temporary short-term bull trap. Just like bulls got caught here. Sorry, bear trap. It's probably going to play on both sides, because what do you have to keep in mind? Like, liquidity. The liquidity right now. It's going to be low. It's not going to take a lot to drive the market. And that's why, like, Tesla's headline, like, I'm interested to see, is Tesla rally right back? Does it hold whatever its lows were today? I think they made, no, I know they made new lows today, but look what it's doing. It's back inside yesterday's candle. Barely. Living on a prayer, but I mean, is this the capitulation action? If we talked about this, like, if you look at it, capitulatory, that feels very capitulatory. Now, I'm not saying Tesla's going back to new highs or this is the start of a bull market, but it's the same kind of feeling in action when we talked about Meta. Remember, Meta had just been absolutely cream pied. We're like, it's probably capitulating here. And then what happens? It rallies back. Feels very, 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 very similar. Hence why I was saying, if you're looking at a trade, the easy trade might be to sell Tesla Q calls, right? You sell like the 85, 90, whatever you're comfortable with, manage it. You rake in that premium, and then when you're ready, you can buy some Tesla calls maybe if you want to. Again, try to make it a zero, like, sum game on that. Because if the market is going to rally and Tesla is bottoming, that to me is a very easy trade. Again, consult your financial advisor, be smart, whatever, all the disclaimers. You know, it's up to you. Yeah, what a mess on Tesla. I think dead money personally, but I could be totally wrong. Again, I agree, dead money long term, but it's the same thing that we talked like with Meta though. Like, it seems very likely that when you again, man, we talk about channels, you break out. That's the capitulation action, right? Smooth channel, everybody gives up, then it rallies back. I mean, did Tesla even, like, I don't even really have a down channel. I mean, other than this one, right? So you break out of it. I'm like, I did have a channel. I'm like, why didn't I not think of it? Look, here's your down channel. Here's your break below it. Is that the rally back? Keep in mind, again, stock went from, I mean, literally 312 and 3 months ago down to $1.20. You must know what to do here, but I'm telling you right now, like, that to me seems like a low risk with stops, potentially catalyst to raise the market up. Because it feels like the market's been just really focused on Tesla, while a lot of the market in general has been, yeah, it's down, but it's not like cream pie getting smushed. Like, I mean, that's why I keep laughing at, like, FedEx. Everyone's like, oh, the world's ending. I'm like, I don't know about all that. Where is FedEx? Come on, show me. Like, look at the stock. Because I like to look at FedEx. Remember, FedEx, same thing. Breaks out of the channel low, takes time to capitulate, or capitulates and then rocks up. Well, look what it's doing. As the world looks like it's ending, FedEx has their earnings. It's rallying. Like, there's pockets of strength here, things that are telling you, okay. Well, does that mean the SPY has to get to 390 today? I don't know, man. I don't know. But it tells me I think it's going higher. What is your think of Dow? What do you think of Dow? Like, are you talking about Dow, the chemical company, or Dow Jones, DJ? I'm assuming you mean Dow, ID Doc. Oh, excuse me, bubbles. High and tight. I mean, it looks better than Tesla in the sense, but it could rally here. I mean, you clearly had some volume from the OPEX Friday. Stock's down from 70 to 50. I'm trying to think of like where it's come from. It's interesting. I haven't traded this stock in a long time. Don't really have any updated charts on it. Just trying to get a lay of the land on this thing. So if you want my real opinion without me trying to chart it. I mean, I think there's better names out there, but it looks just kind of like the market, right? Like, overlay this against the SPY. It's like choppy, sloppy. It looks very similar. I mean, it's just another derivative of the market, in my opinion. I don't know if there's a catalyst or it has the liquidity to go fast. I mean, it's a safe company. That's all I really could say about it. I don't think if the market rallies, it's going to go a couple points. Is that your best trade? I don't know. Probably not. But it's safe. I mean, I like safe, easy money. I think really people always want to speculate on the biggest gains. And it's like, but if you know the stock's going to go from 49 up to 52, I mean, how do you want to exploit that 7% move? Aggressively, unaggressively? I mean, I don't know. That's your call. Speaking of, I mean, you probably could play some calls with that. Let me look at it real quick on the option chain. I mean, you probably could play the 113s. Strikes. Wow, these calls are so damn cheap. I mean, at the money would be the 49 or 50s for $1 or $2. I mean, you probably have to buy a lot of them to really make some money. I don't know. It doesn't look terrible. It just looks like kind of the market. It's a, what do they call it? Alpha, beta? I can't remember. No, alpha, right? Alpha is the return of how it follows the market. It looks pretty similar. Seeking alpha. Seeking beta. Man, all the freaking... Everyone know they're Greeks. Do you know your Greeks? I used to be an options monster. Absolute options monster. So how is the market going to deal with oil and oil stocks in 2023? Well, if anyone was following, and someone asked me, I can't remember who it was, and I have to, seeking beta. I had an alarm down here, really hoping for it, didn't get it. And so, and this is what I think, agree. I think oil has to rise for the feds to get out of this sweet spot. Now, a lot of people say, what? Hold on, the feds are in a sweet spot? Yeah, I mean, CPI just is coming down. And now, again, high, low, whatever you want to talk about. It's the perception. Again, I hate arguing about the facts of the market because just like anything else we talk about, like the facts of the market aren't as important as the reaction. The reaction is always what matters more. Because, again, I mean, bad news can go up. Good news can go down. Remember, the market climbs the wall of worry. It's really hard to be economically based in trading because that's the problem here. Because if economists were great traders, what's the idiot from the from the New York Times, Paul Krugman? Like, that guy would be a billionaire. Instead, that guy looks like he walks around with a $5 haircut and pours shit. Excuse my language. That guy doesn't. Every time that guy talks, I mean, I imagine institutions are like, do the opposite. So, I mean, half the guys that come on CNBC that are economists, like, they're all a bunch of blowhards. What did we talk about yesterday, too, with, like, the market action, with this omnibus budget, whatever deal that every year. It seems to always get kicked down to the last week. It's like Congress bought all their stocks yesterday, and like now they're heading on vacation. They passed that bill, and the market's gonna rally. Like, it's best traders on earth working in Congress, insider trading, son of a biscuits. So how does the market going to do with your SPY close prediction for? What's your prediction for today? The close on the SPY. So my best prediction is not what's the main max options pain. Like, what would probably confuse the most amount of people and screw over the most amount of people? I think you know it. I would think somewhere around 383 to 385. That's my prediction on the SPY close. And if it closes at 380, that could be a tricky confusion as too. Because here's the thing. Like, if you're bearish, you're like, crap. 374 seems a long ways away, my friend. Just like if you were bullish, you're like, oh, God, I hope we get back up there. So down here, I mean, it seems very logical that we'll get up into the mid 385 to 383 range. Seeking beta. Yeah, there's a huge divergence. Oil has to come up for oil. I agree. I mean, I totally agree. Now people are traveling. Every time I go by, every time I go by any of the retail malls and stores, like, they're fucking slammed. This isn't 2008 where I remember going shopping by myself. I remember being like short oil and being like, not just laughing about the market and what was going on. Unfortunately, I wasn't public, like, posting stuff there, but like just going around, it was like tumbleweeds rolling around. Like, holy crap, this is bad, like scary bad. Like, think of like the Livermore, like, money post story when he's talking about like asking the banks to come down and bring liquidity into the markets. Like, you're like, oh crap, we're nowhere near that. Like, we're not even close to that. Now again, are we on like GDP 3.2%? Q3, Q4, probably going to come in somewhere like 1% or something. Do we get a recession again next year? It has to be with oil going higher. So I'm with you, 50 dimes. Like, if oil stays at this price, government spending stays at these levels, interest rates are lower, the market will get comfortable in this unfortunate trading range. And every trader is going to fucking hate it. And we're just going to be used to it. I don't think people realize, like, check this out. If you are, a traitor, but you do realize, like, the IWM, all of last year, like 2021, look at this big-ass trading range. So what if, and this is what I worry about for 2023, right? What if we're in a trading range, then the breakdown is where you end, right? So here we are now. I apologize, it's not very zoomed in, but do y'all see that? Everyone see how all of 2021, IWM, trading range until the very end, then fail. What happens if things stay as they are? Oil stays calm. Ukraine, fucking still a mess, but not end of the world messy. What if this is just a big-ass trading range? And that's where I keep talking about, like, the breakout would be the trap. That's the trap. Just like the breakdown would be probably the final death dagger to all bulls and get all bears to go all in deep buying Tesla strike 33 puts for next week. Does this make sense? Like, the market's trying to trap, and that's where sometimes, like, the technicals and all this shit, you have to, like, not throw it out the window. You have to respect it. But you have to know, like, there's a bigger game being played here, and it's that game is screw you, me, everybody listening, and everybody in the market over. It's not that crazy, or it's not. That's not how the markets work. And I'm like, then why do 95% of traders lose? Why do all financial advisors say you can't time the market? Why does every pro out there always just, bringing more insert, like, what's the best way to describe it? Trying to pretend like that the market is something that it's not. Like, it's going to pay you. No. It's the fucking casino. You walk in there, they're like eyeing your wallet. They can't steal it from you, but you have to donate it. And I apologize for swearing, YouTube, but it's just trying to accentuate the truth. Tesla's not moving at all. It's halted. I mean, but here's the thing about Tesla's action. It's stopping power. Like that, if you're a bear, It should be going lower. And when it doesn't and it just stops there, that is the market makers, that is smart money covering their freaking shorts because all the headlines are bearish. Do you got, that's, I don't know how to explain this to people. They look at this action, they go, oh, it's stuck. Well, guess what? If somebody has the ability, it's not me, you, and 3 other folks buying shares. It's somebody stopping power. It's just like Meta. Look what happened when Meta gapped down. They're cutting their workforce. End of the freaking world. It's over. The action just got tight. The day ranges got tight near the bottom. It got tight on the high liquidity days. Does that make sense? The high liquidity days was very tight. Very tight. That's not me buying stock. That's not 50 dimes going all in. No, that's market maker participants using the noose, liquidity to cover. Oh, but it went lower later. Well, of course, again, they are liquidity driven. If you have a huge monster effing short, do you think you can unload it all in one day? No. No. No, 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 no. Hope this helps. That's why I think so many people just don't understand the market because they think of it from themselves. You have to think about how a whale works. Read Reminiscence of the Stock Operator. I'm telling you, memorize that book. It's no different than in the 20s and early 1900s to now. Same participants, same idiots, same type of folks, same game. It's literally the same game. It's just faster, more computers, more ways to screw us over, more knowledge that they have on us as participants. I'm telling y'all. Check out Merck. What is going on with Merck? Why would I want to short Merck? Let's look. Why would I want to short this? I don't really see that. I think the best idea for 2023 is shorting tech again. It's always going to be short tech. It's always going to be short tech. Because all the dumb money that took 13 or 20 years to pile into is not going to give up until the extreme. So I think the easiest short's always going to be tech. So especially if inflation entrenches, it's going to be tech. 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 Healthcare, you got to be careful. Yeah, but again, if 10%, I mean, I'm that maybe that's what you want to do. I don't know. I just look at it this way. Like, I think there's tech. If you study the PAAS, which, we're a student of the game, playa, then we pull up the monthly. I mean, I put this video out last September. Last November. Let me change screens. Yeah, Taiwan semi probably going to be the best short ever because if China invades and tech gets crapped on, tech goes 120 down hard. It's going to correct 80-90% because of the momentum. I mean, this is a tech bubble, right? Look at the... I mean, it still has lots of room to come right back down. I mean, my target is, which is ironic, is the 2008 high or 1999 high. That to me would be the bottom downside. Look at Microsoft. Look at Apple. Look at these mega names. Remember, that money is not destroyed. It's going to come out of this stuff, and it's going to go into materials. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when. So, I again, tech will always be the short. Now, the more tech drops, be careful which ones you short, because at some point, smaller cap names are going to be what? They're always going to have more of a potential for a buyout. Apple, Tesla, Netflix, Microsoft, Guggenheim, Amazon, Adobe, SMH, Taiwan Semi. Ain't nobody buying that. Again, I don't... Here's the thing. You probably don't remember O'Reilly. But what it did in 2000 after 2008. I mean, it's... Check this out. The 2000s, where is it over AutoZone or O'Reilly? I can't remember the one. These pull back, but they just keep ripping. They've always been like that. And so what's the downside with these names? If you just want to short because they're high, I don't know. They have like endless buybacks. I'm trying to think of what else is going on with them then. That's all. That's like literally all they do. They're running out of money to continue buyback. There are no way rally goes up in 23. I just don't see it. Okay. Well, again, I agree with you if it pulls back, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, these companies have been what they're going to be. I mean, I guess. No, I mean, I know they're running out of capital, but that's always what they do. They just continue to borrow more money to buy back stock. I agree. Like at some point, they get hit. But if that's only if the recession grows or a recession comes out. I remember these names just being always flying high. 2007, we pulled back from 36 down to 20. Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's the problem here with high flyers. The short squeeze, the buyback, these guys are manipulating. The 200-day. When's the last time I touched the 200-day? I mean, the daily looks a little more exciting, interesting. Yeah, auto prices are, used prices are dropping. I mean, that looks head and shoulders to me, so I can see what you're saying there. That makes sense. This thing has had a history, though, head and shoulders that violate to go higher. That's, I was about to say, I'm like, I remember this tricky mother. Because you have like these complex head and shoulders that'll make a slightly higher high. Did it again here. Here, complex chop pattern. I mean, you just gotta. It has had a history of nasty head and shoulders. I remember this stock many times. I don't know why I don't have it. Again, I transferred everything from Q charts to E-signal over COVID. That took, it seemed like forever. I'd maybe not have transferred all the data to this one. That looks interesting to me, but man, this thing has been the head and shoulders decapitator for bears. We'll see. I mean, if you really want this thing to, the best, and this is again what we talk about, is the best short sometimes is the trap up to fail. We'll see. And that's a tough one. What are your thoughts on Boeing? BA. I mean, I've said this many, many times. Like, watching Boeing rise is not bearish. I'm sorry. We talked about that 50 fib hitting at some point, even when it was down here. So, again, GDP, Boeing is a monster. Right? For when it considered like GDP potential data, like what they're up to. This thing doesn't look bearish. So, again, signals of the market dumping. I mean, if your only trade is Tesla, then yes, you think the world's going to end. If you're watching other stuff, you're going, it doesn't look that bad. Broke out of the channel. Is this the fake out? It's tough to know because this is like the consolidation pattern that's creeping higher. You go look at the monthly and you go, damn. 460 down to $1.20. Let me redraw the monthly fib. $220s. $220s. A lot of action up here. That should act like a freaking tractor beam. Should act like a tractor beam. It's hard to be patient. I mean, I know a lot of people following did really well shorting, longing, and trading. This short trade, where there's been bits and pieces in the last couple, weeks, if you took them, it hasn't really, again, just like it's been choppy. I mean, we had the up move pretty damn good. We got stopped out, which is fine. But the overall move for the market coming up, I mean, I'm just telling y'all right now, I think you can trade the extremes. Market doesn't look as bad as they're trying to portray it. And that's what always makes me nervous, is like looking at the VIX and the way that everything's acting. It's not acting that terrible. And when the news headlines are screaming, everyone agrees a recession next year. Okay. Okay, well, remember, the market's really good at pricing in everything it knows. Well, if it priced in a recession for next year, which, again, I don't even fucking know. I don't care. Short term, I think it has potential to, like, put people in a position where they're out of, what is it? They're, like, off base, right? Like, they're all anticipating the smash. But then it's like, show me the evidence of the economy smashing. Because the market knows there was supposed to be a recession and inflation was high. So if you think about it from the perspective of how to screw over everybody, it's to do what? Put us in a chop cycle. And I'm telling you, I think you want to see an extreme chop of the like the higher range of it, than to short. So if you were short, fuck yeah, congrats. But I don't think you need it. You got to be careful pressing it here. You got to be careful pressing it here into the Santa seasonality. That's all I can say. Santa seasonality, pressing it. It's taking the money. It's kind of like one of the things we talk about when we've had other shorts. Dips get bought, dips get bought. You have to take some off. Do you think this is going right back down to the lows? I personally don't. Because the more people scream this is comparing this to 2008, 2009, the more I'm screaming it's not. It's probably going to be a slower, longer slog recession, like stagflation. Not market economy falling off a cliff. But either way, try not to be that. If you try to marry your beliefs versus try to be mentally flexible, this was always my biggest struggle for almost a decade. When I would have these thoughts and I'd be like, well, this is what has to happen. And the same thing screwed me up near the end of the COVID. Like, I was like, man, this thing should be turning over, absolutely dumping. Well, it didn't dump for another 6 months. Like, you have to be able to go, okay, well, the action doesn't say it. The action doesn't say it, but oh, it should be dumping. Well, it's not. Like, you got to be cognizant of that. I mean, is this action just priced in near-term weakness? I don't know. Credit card capacity utilization's up, which is scary. A lot of things dangerous for next year. However, there can be weeks where the market doesn't seem to care about that shit. That makes sense? I hope people get that, because that's been the hardest part of trading over a longer period of time, is that, like, yeah, if you're trading on the weekly, monthly, you have to be prepared for counter moves. Right? Counter moves. I look at the SPY, I go, damn, you're at points where, again, this was probably the peak of tax loss selling. This was the last little bit of it. Does the vacuum fill higher? Because, again, the market typically tends to rise. Like I always tell people, like, shorting always has to be a trade. It's not necessarily long-term investment, especially the market. Like, now you can pick names like we talked about in the past. Like, even during bull markets that were just like Peloton. It was going to the dirt, right? AMC, GameStop, all these meme stocks. Eventually, they were going to all crash. That made sense. The market as a whole, remember, is always rotating, leaders, like changing out its names, adding strong names, adding, I mean, strong, I guess, is relative, but just adding and changing. It's not like a name like one of these particular stocks. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Any thoughts? Concerns? I like the 11-cent action on the SPY to me. Am I wrong? I guess the next candle. 11.7. Well, let's play guess the next candle. I mean, it feels more like 11.9. That's where Ready, Set, Sell was saying yesterday. Like, you had this, like, pullback. I guess it's not going to be that aggressive today unless something crazy happens the afternoons. Yeah, happy holidays, Viddy. Good chatting with you, my friend. It feels like a misdirection. Now we'll see how the close is. It's where if you took the lottery on the SPYs and you hit your money, you're good. Cool. And we talked about those calls being cheap. At this point, my guess the next candle, this is the trap. Now, what's the data for next week? I don't think there's much. I haven't looked into it yesterday because I honestly wasn't going to do it till I got to where I was going to be on vacation. This candle says a lot. Just like this candle said a lot, and then it failed. Like, you got to look at this action. If I'm guessing the next candle based on seasonality, the close is going to tell me a lot. Because if it closes above this range in here, like the daily range, I don't know why you wouldn't get up into the wicks. And if you can get above the wicks, then I don't know why you wouldn't be turning right back around to go some direction higher. Like some amount. Sorry, not direction. Some amount. What amount? I mean, there's a lot of congestion in the 390s to 400 range. If I really was trying to screw everybody over, I'd rip the market up to 410, 415. Get everybody going. Just as they were screaming bears at the lows, they're screaming, well, I guess the bull market's back on. I better buy. Well, what better time would be to do that than to do it over what? January effect, where all that new money's coming up. I mean, you want to get people just to chase, right? The market makers are really good at doing that. Like, imagine being able to unload into all that new money. The billions and billions coming in from pensions and IRAs and 401ks and companies just pumping money. Like, that would be their slog out quietly. Like, think of it like them sneaking out the back door, looking at everybody sliding backwards on their feet. Like, oops, don't see me. Here you go. You needed liquidity? I got you, dog. Oh, you want to buy some SPY? We got a plenty of it down here in the 380s. Oh, you want to pay 400? Here, take it. Have it. Enjoy. Disfrute. Whatever. All right. Any questions, thoughts? Let's look. CF. Oh, all right. Let's look at some of the names that I'm in. CF. Range lows, I mean, minimum down up to 95. Maybe up to 98, maybe up to 102. Let's play this little game where when the fibs are done, let's take it from here and see the ranges play out. Peter Griffin. Play out to the swing points. Interesting. So let's move it here. Just curious. Sorry, this one. Well, fuck me. There you go. Interesting. Okay. I think that's the one. How high do you think X can go? I've had some good success shorting in the morning, pop, and covering as the fades during the day. How high? Oh, not VALE. X. How high can it go? I mean, I said this weeks ago that if it rallied and it could hold, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 28 that like 30 handle on it. Right? We talked about how it like just went in this choppy zone, and then when it broke lower, then it ripped higher. God, I love that trap. I mean, it's always easy to say after the fact, but when you see it and it happens, you go, oh shit, we're about to get paid. Sorry again for swearing, YouTube. It's not meant to be aggressively. Swear. I mean, this action to me, yeah, I mean, I see your trade. I just be curious. Again, like X guided up. I think it was this day, which is ironic. Like the OPEX. I mean, this is more of a, I feel like an industrial / commodity pop coming. So this is the thing. I look at X and I look at the monthly and I just go, I don't ever want to short this thing because it's coming off a massive base structure. But when commodities bottom, this thing is going to have freaking rocket fuel up its ass. I mean, if you look at the monthly, we've talked about like, this is the ceiling until it's not. Can it get up in there? Yeah, of course it can. Does it have to dump right away? No. What's the upside? I mean, probably somewhere in there, right? See 28 to 30. Could have hit the... No, probably not. Yeah, that's a tough one. Again, it seems very obvious to me, logical. No need to short. But trade around your positions. I get that. I mean, I do that too. I mean, I just sometimes on a whim, I'm like looking at the chart and it just feels so. And again, you'll get good at this too. And people, and again, it's not like a. This is where I don't always post it because I'm like, this is just me on a whim. I don't know the evidence. I don't know why. I just feel like this has already run up a ton or it moved up. I need to take some profits, especially if I'm intraday trading. Because a lot of people try to be very technical intraday and wait for things. And sometimes I go, well, hey, you know what? If I got calls, I want to sell them into strength and it's just rising, I'm done. If I had puts, I'm like, all right, short dated stuff, trading around, I'm like, I'm just out. I'm done. And because I watch, a lot of people don't realize, like, I love the hourly chart. The hourly is my game. See, this looks like a head and shoulders bottom potentially. And sometimes the best time to sell something on a big green candle, right? Big green candle. Big green candle, right? Like, especially into strength. How many can these go up? Now, again, you have to be range. Remember, this was what was that? New year, new month, new money, new month. Could have some rise. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can see how large green candles become like tractor beams in a trader's market to like bring people in to get excited. Now every candle's not the same and you have to know what's going on, but like if you're already up a ton, that candle can be very ominous, right? Not really there. Again, this is where I think some people, here you go, like that candle was very ominous. You get to this point where sometimes you don't know why you do things other than just your experience. And people go, well, that's hard to trade. And it's like, well, what is something that you're really good at and done for a long period of time? Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's reading people. Maybe it's like trusting your instincts. Like that's the thing that I think you have to develop, that edge in trading, and it's instinct related. And I can't accentuate this enough, that how much you will learn from just hanging around someone like me talking about this shit, because it's like ringing in your ear little things. Oh, I remember him saying that. Oh, and then you see it and you go, oh, okay, I see what he means. Because there's an art to this. Because if it was all science and technical based, then trading would be absolutely easy. Everybody would make money. It would be it'd be very exploitable. Right? Trading would be a very exploitable game. But it's not. It's part of your emotions and understanding on and how the market makes you feel too, right? Like when you're winning a bunch, you feel invincible. When you're losing, you feel like you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. Does this make sense? So you got to like be cognizant of your own feelings. So when I look at Tesla, I look at the market the last couple of days, bears are feeling invincible. I mean, I'm getting the biggest trolls like, hey, you missed this move. Okay, whatever. Like, the market's about to dump, Dan. The market is about to explode. Where are you? I mean, I've got people hitting me up left and right. You are an idiot. Okay. You're an idiot. Yeah, okay, I got it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm again, if I'm wrong, I'll give credit to the people. I mean, there's some people in the Discord room wanted to short. I was like, this is a realistic conversation of having. I'm not going to talk about like you can't short. We don't have to necessarily agree, and I will miss moves, and you're going to miss moves. Like, that's part of the trading. Like, if you expect to have a batting average of high batting average, you're still going to miss moves. I mean, that's why always the joke of like Ted Williams was supposedly a good trader. Like, think about getting to the Hall of Fame. All you got to hit is 3 out of 10 right in baseball. On trading, if you're pickier, you're more methodical, you're trying to get 8, 9, 10 out of, 8, 7, 8, 9 out of 10 right, you're going to be wrong. Oh, I get tons of people calling me an idiot. I mean, I know that, and again, that's the thing. I don't really care so much what they say. It's the people I trying to help out that I genuinely care about. That's why I feel bad. Like Solomon reached out many a times, like help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. And now he's the first one to like stick a dagger in my back when I can't help him. Hence why I still actually try to help him, because I'm like, man, I see your problem is clear as day. It's like if you can't see it in the mirror, it's like looking in the mirror and being sunburnt. It's like, well, what do I do? Stop getting out in the sun and getting cooked. I mean, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but that's what it is. Or if you look in the mirror and you don't like your weight, well, maybe you need to stop stuffing your face full of Doritos and snacks at night before you go to bed. And maybe you should hit the gym. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you and I can talk about this stuff, but it's like people can't acknowledge it to themselves. And this is why trading's so hard, because when you're wrong, admitting you're wrong is hard. And when you're right, admitting that, hey, like, what's the hard thing here? If Eric's listening, we talk about this all the time. What's the hard thing is what? It's probably the right thing. Market's ripping. Oh, I want to just stay long. No, you probably should sell some covered calls and hedge near term. See what happens. Oh, I want to short and the market's dumping and it's game on. Well, it's probably time to take some profits. That's how trading ultimately is. And that's why it's like a never-ending game of psychology with yourself. Like, people can blame Kramer, myself, anybody on social media, anybody in the news. You don't ever want to give that kind of power away. You want to like own your wrongs so you can fix them versus like blame the economy, blame Biden, blame Trump, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, make your own destiny. Like, be cognizant of how the markets work and adjust to it. That's where the money is. All the crying, pouting, that kind of stuff is just so disheartening. Yeah, the best thing for trading is to listen to recaps and follow in the Discord. Starting to see my instincts get a lot better. Need to execute the selling better, but I see that more and more of the emotions that come in it. Yeah, I mean, remember, most decision making in general is it emotional based? Is it not? Think about your day-to-day life, right? How do you feel about going to the gym? Right? Because if you're a robot, you go to the gym. Like we all should, right? Go to the gym. Go to the effing gym. You know, you've seen those memes and videos, right? Like, it's emotional state dependent. When you feel good about yourself, you get up, you go up and do it. When you're not, you're like, I don't know. And it's the same thing with your trading disciplines. I can guarantee you that because I experience it all the time still. I mean, it doesn't go away. Oh, you've made a bunch of money. You can't be wrong. Nope. Red alert. Red alert. Like, I now start seeing, like, the more comfortable I am with a winning position, the more I have to, like, start analyzing, well, shit, are we close to the end? Because the market's going to make you feel like you can't lose, right? At the lows. I mean, why do you think these same people troll me? I mean, and like, I'm like, tell me more. Tell me more. At the lows. Solomon here. Again, he's the best example because a lot of people know him. Again, don't take it personal. If you're listening, my friend, you're always welcome to learn. Again, you've never said anything that really bothers me or super offensive. You just, again, you get crazy at the lows and you start shouting, bear market, the game is over, just like you did at the highs in the summer. And again, a lot of the reason why I talk about it is because everyone knows him from the Discord room. That's the problem here. Is like, as soon as you get really confident and the media tells you this and the market's doing that and the market has position to line up for what you think is game over, it's usually game over for your position. That's the right, like, that's something that you got to take into account. Like, think of how many people are chasing Tesla short here or selling here, while the market makers are like, well, thank you, we're unloading. Now, does it have to resolve today? Don't know. I really don't care. But we've shown you a million times why. Look at Tesla's like hourly. Disgusting. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Look at the volume down here. Look at the volume down here. And look at this candle, right? Does it look bearish? Hell no, it doesn't. But it looks like a potential look below and fail. Do y'all see this? And that's why I'm like saying, like, you could sell Tesla Q calls, load it to buy your calls, you know, and then you can buy Tesla calls. Try to get it zero sum, but please don't buy dailies. Remember, like, what took Meta? It took a couple days. Maybe this doesn't really rally until the new year. I don't know. But don't give yourself a 1 day out. Don't give yourself 5 minutes to be right. Because I'm telling you, that's stupid. Because the big moves take time. They do. You're anticipating every trade to be like this straight line banger. All in, you can't lose. You're just rolling the dice too aggressively, in my opinion. All right. Any other thoughts, questions? Again, and people say, like, oh, you're trying to be nice. Like, wow, they're idiots. Well, keep in mind, like, you're only as good as your best trade. Your current trade. No one will remember how awesome you've done in the past. They're going to judge you on what you're doing now. And it's no different like in sports. Like, your favorite sports athlete is only as good as his last play. That's always going to be the perception of yourself from the outside world. What are your thoughts on PMTS? Cardio group. I mean, I have no clue. I have never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys. I don't know. I mean, you got to consider this strong. This action is not bearish. That's for damn sure. I mean, it's totally looked at the market direction and said, what market's going down? No. And here's where it can get kind of tricky. Could this be the blow-off day? I mean, maybe. But when you look at previous volumes, it's like it's running. It's leading. Do you want to short it? I don't know. This one I just look at it and go, damn, I don't know. I just don't know. I can't really long it. I don't really have a short to reference against. I mean, I guess if you look at the monthly, it makes sense that it probably would find sellers around here. There's your monthly range. I mean, you're coming into it. So it's like whether it goes higher or some more. Man, that's a mover. But I mean, look at the liquidity. How many shares is it traded today? 53,000 shares. That's way too. I mean, that's very low liquidity. Low liquidity could get pushed. As we've said, we talked about, that's tough, my friend. I mean, 53,000 shares, think about how easy that is to move, the stock around. $53,000 can move the stock $1. Or, I mean, sorry, is 1,000 shares. I mean, 1,000 shares put on the ask might move it in the market makers with the algorithm that's controlling it, could move that thing 50 cents. I mean, I'm sitting here watching. I mean, it hasn't traded once in the last 2 minutes. That's a tough one. Again, low liquidity means extremes. Low liquidity can be easily pushed around. Low liquidity can be trappish. I mean, if you imagine the options if it has options, have mile wide gaps on them. Yeah, I mean, what are you thinking? What's your question revolve around? Does it look like a short? Does it look like a long? Because if this was a bull market, I'd be like, wow, that's probably going to keep ripping. If you're going into the Santa Claus rally, could it keep ripping? Like I said, looking at the monthly, could it get up into the 40s? Tough, very tough. I mean, this thing has been sitting here at 53,283 shares for the last 2 or 3 minutes. Potential short later. I mean, I feel like, again, the easy shorts will be when the market lines up. I always hate going against the market because I've tried to do that and it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. It's just, I don't think you sleep well at night if you're shorting, the market's going to rise. Does that make sense? I'm always concerned. Or if I'm long and it's like, oh, the market's not really rising, like yeah, some of the names that we've had, I mean, I don't sleep as well as I would if if today's action confirms. I don't know. I mean, 53,283 shares. I mean, it's been stuck on that for 3 or 4 minutes. Like, I don't like that kind of liquidity because I don't know how you're going to trade it. Like, your entry and your exit. Imagine, hold on. I just want to see what the bid-ask spread is. Yeah, the bid-ask spread is 82 cents wide. So right now, the offering is 36.50, selling 35.78. I mean, that's a 3% spread. 3% spread. That's like a penny stock. Liquidity. Liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. I mean, I'm not the type that can throw, that would throw around like $1,000, or sorry, willing to lose $1,000 on this. But I bet if I bought like 1,000 shares, I'd be curious to what would happen if I put a market price in. I'd laugh if it ripped at 3%. Like, is that real buying? No, that's just a retail trader playing a game with it. All right, any other last questions? If not, look forward to the weekend recap. Be safe out there. I mean, the market just doesn't feel bearish. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, man. I don't really like the microcap names because I like them with limited risk, right? Like, it's the same thing with certain stocks. Like, I'm willing to assume I can make a ton of money or I could get burned. And so if I look at it that way, then it's like, well, what's my limited amount? Like, are you willing to buy 200 shares knowing you could lose $2,000 very easily? But then could it make you $2,000? Yeah. That's the thing. It's hard to go extremely big on risky names. But if you bought in at the lows and you've pyramided it into like weakness, like all weakness, you bought the dip, at some point you got to look for some exits and to lower your risk, right? So that's where trading around the position. Like if you bought the stock on a day where it actually traded some shares, I mean, some of these days, I mean, there's just nothing, 4,000 shares. I mean, if you pyramided in this thing, and you traded around the position, and again, the hardest thing is sell into strength, and pull back. Oh, it traded. Oh, 5,320. Someone traded. Oh, a couple hundred shares, 1,000 shares maybe. I don't know. This is where, again, people are like, oh, you're picking bottoms. And it's like, no, well, you kind of have to if you want to like hold through these extremes. Or chop. This is a tough one. Payment system 3. Yeah, less than $1 billion market cap. All right, I can't think about that. Let's go back to the SPY. Because I've tried to trade these names before, and I find myself like, if you're in at the lows, cool. Right now, I don't know. Yeah, man, thanks, buddy. Thank you, Ken. Please be safe out there. I know a lot of people, this is tough. Always know your max loss and like get comfortable with it. Yeah, Jagan, probably the reason, again, like it's very reminiscent of like what we've talked about. Like if it's not dropping and all the headlines are that this thing is dumping and retail's out there, stock twits pumping, buying next week's 33 puts, as some people were joking about, like it doesn't look bearish. It looks like it's just getting to that indecisive spot. And that's why I was saying, like the first move is not to buy calls. Right? I've said this. I've talked about this. It was not to buy calls. It was to sell puts on Tesla or sell calls on Tesla Q. That's how typically most bottoms work. Does this make sense? You have to find a floor first, and the floor creates, and the floor could be hours, days, weeks. But buying calls on the first like bottom, you're going to at some point be stuck. And I mean, like, you're right, but you're wrong. So, okay. I'm going to wrap it up. Don't really know what else to say here. I think the market, again, 383 to 385. If it closes higher, not going to complain. If you got your names, again, if you're, pay attention. I appreciate it. I'm going to have good holidays. Everyone else as well. Like, pay attention to the dumbest people you know in trading and follow them. Because I'm telling you right now, they always lose. I'm telling you, they always lose, y'all. Like, think about it. If they lose 95% of the time, they're going to blow up. Feeling out what they think is going to happen is probably going to be a little art trick that you have. I'm just telling you. Like, that's something that when I used to run the trading, I had a trading view room that was the 5th largest. It was the largest organically grown room created, was my room there before they booted me. I swear to God, if you're listening, you know from the past, you could take the same folks that would come in there randomly and just post like, the market's going to crash. And you would look at their previous posts and you're like, you could literally take it and go, that was an inflection point. 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 And you could, because you kind of get immune, and I'll end this, you kind of get immune to the market makers because you're just like, you understand, but you're like, I don't, whatever. You tune it out from your positioning because you can't make a decision based on emotion, and you don't want to be emotional. But when you notice the most emotional people acting irrationally, now you got something here. Because that's usually when they are, right? At the highs, they're the most bullish. At the lows, they're the most bearish. When the market's chopping, they're the most frustrated. Like, does that make sense? I hope that's the one tidbit you're starting to pick up on. Hence why, that was one of the reasons why I opened up the Discord room. Like, I was hoping somebody would come in there, a couple people would be super emotional, and they could teach them this, but their emotions would be easily the best things to fade. And we talked about that amongst staff. Like, we need to get some people in here that are super crazy. And not because we want to make fun of them or just be mean, but it's like, it's good to have these people who are just like that, because I'm telling you right now, you're going to see that if you believe that, again, I don't even believe, if you know that 95% of traders fail, there is a trading class out there that is literally always wrong. Or the market makers are pumping headlines or pumping fake, what I'd consider them, what do you call it? Fake profiles, fake avatars to get the market wound up. That's where if you start following them, you start looking at them. That's why I was watching the other day. I'm like, holy crap. Every single person I know that I think is an absolute retard is shorting the market yesterday. Or talking about levels of 320, 280 on the SPY. And I'm like, it's really hard to watch this and not be like incredibly bullish. And then look what happened. We went down to 374 and rallied right back. I mean, again, I did the video. I did the go watch the live chat. I talked about like why I thought, I'm like, holy crap, we're down these levels, and I think we're about to hold. And then we rallied back, closed at 380. And then I said yesterday, like, look at yesterday's action. I'll end it here. Like, that's not bearish. If you close back above these lows, that's not bearish. And then what we talk about on the pullback today, my first tweet of the morning. First tweet of the morning. Who remembers what I said? Pulling it up again. I think it's an open, low, close, high kind of day. Here you go. Posted this right at the open. Open, low, close, high kind of day coming. Just my best guess. There we go. All right. I'm going to let it run. Now, again, if we close at 380, to me, it's still bullish. And if we close up here, even better. Merry Christmas to you guys. Again, I'm always here to help. Y'all know that. And again, I appreciate people who generously donated Christmas gifts, whatever, like that. It makes me want to do more for y'all because, again, it gets me excited to think, like, damn, man, if we can get a room full of like 20, 30 people that are all getting this, makes my job way easier. Because that doesn't mean I have to be the one thinking as hard as everyone else. Because there's other people who are seeing it just the same way. And you have to always remember this. You're going to be wrong. You have two eyes, one brain. And you have your interpretation. I love when people present their interpretations if they don't agree with me with evidence and what they're seeing. Again, because if we all agree on something, great, and it's probably going to happen. But if it gets indecisive and there's certain things that look different, because again, I have so many screens, so much time. You start seeing things. And again, and it's not disrespectful for someone to be like, this is my evidence, Dan. I think Gallag was posting that and he was short. I'm like, okay, I see it. And people are like, oh, you can't post that bearish stuff here. I'm like, no. He's posting charts. He's being thoughtful. This isn't like, I don't want this to be some sort of Kool-Aid drinking, nobody can disagree with me or anybody else. Like, now we can joke when we're not in agreement why or what's going on, but if it's evidence-based, like, I want to see it. Like, think about this. And, like, I'll end it here. Like, think about it from the perspective of you are limited to what you can only see, feel, think, and hear. If people who genuinely care about you, love you, looking out for you, are trying to give you advice, why would you ignore it? I don't believe anybody is out here in the Discord room trying to screw everybody over. If you see something, you think something, let's talk about it. That's fine. But if it's just emotional, like, I think this is going to happen, and then you have no evidence behind it, now I think your headline or your thought process is coming from what? The news, the headlines, what other people are thinking. Again, because ultimately we always are very what? Contrarian-ish, kind of thoughtful about what the market makers are trying to do. I hope this helps. Happy holidays. Again, thank you guys. Gonna be, every year should be better. That's the goal. We wish you made money every month, every quarter, every year. I mean, I guess the years it should be. But it's just, there's going to be times where it's not always up. Or there's times where it's not always a great trade. So I appreciate everybody. Whew. Let's go. Talk to you later.